that Sarah has absorbed. Everybody knows that Sarah is smart and that Sarah is beautiful, right? Everyone except Sarah, that is. But you have to know also that Sarah has a remarkably sensitive soul, which expresses itself not only in poetry, but expresses itself in her connection to other people, in her connection to little children, in that ability to say the right word at the right time to make someone else feel happy and pleasant. And that's a religious power. It's a power of spirituality. It's a power of holiness. And I guess that the one wish that we would have for Sarah at this point is that she be enabled for many, many years to come to draw on the strengths and the beauty and the holiness of her parents, her grandparents, her brothers, of all those who love her, so that in the years to come, we may all be able to take pleasure in sharing ongoing simchas through the years, through the decades, for all of us, to experience that holy joy together. Mazel tov.
Thank you so much. I don't recall ever telling you a joke. I guess I have.
Not the one you think.
No. The next speaker is one of those who Sarah said treated her as though she were a punching bag, her brother Daniel.
Thank you. It's a tough act to follow. A little Dvar Torah. In this week's portion from the Torah, we learn the precept that you have to send a mother bird away before you may take its eggs. The reward for this precept is the lengthening of the days of your life. This is one of only 2 precepts in the whole Torah with this reward. The other is honoring your father and mother. It is simple to understand why the reward for honoring your father and mother is lengthening of your life, and that is because, as I can attest to, it is one of the hardest precepts to fulfill. So then, why does such an easy precept as sending the mother bird away also have the reward of lengthening of life? The answer is to show that by simply having mercy on another animal, by not letting the mother bird see its children taken away, we can lengthen our life. The whole Torah is really about having mercy on others. Whether it's one of the Torah's many precepts on kindness to slaves, or a precept about kindness to animals, like not plowing a field with an ox and a donkey together so that the donkey doesn't get embarrassed. The precept of sending the mother bird away is only the first in a list of precepts about mercy. Since this is the first and has a reward of lengthening your life, and so it follows to reason that any similar act of mercy, even to an animal, will lengthen your life. This is really what the Torah is about, and what the fine Jewish education that my brother, my sister, and I have received is all about. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Mazel tov.
Daniel's brother Michael.
Well, it's nice to follow such a beautiful speech as my brother gave. The part about the oxen and the donkey was very moving. But I don't plan on giving it to our Torah, so just try to keep Danny's in mind. What I'd like to do is I'd like to speak about Sarah. As many of you can notice, Sarah and I get along all the time, and my parents can attest to this fact. They love the way Sarah and I behave at the house, at the table, never get upset. I don't know, it's beautiful. And the other thing we notice is Sarah is growing more and more mature every minute. And in fact, this past year we fought less than any time that I can remember. I'd just like to give an example of Sarah's maturity. Yesterday, the three of us were playing Monopoly. And of course, Danny lost rather early. And Sarah was losing to me, but she insisted on playing, which is something that she had never done in the past. And even though a little later she was losing even more, and she threw the board with everything on it in my face, nothing could dampen the feelings of joy, nachas, and happiness I felt when Sarah had earlier decided to keep on playing. I love these gatherings with the whole family and friends here, and the next one will probably be my wedding. So if any of you know any nice, mature, good-looking women, and you think that they might be interested in marriage, during the day my mother can be reached and evenings at 6:85. But in all seriousness, last year when I was away from the family for a year, and I knew I wasn't going to be home for a while, I realized how much my family meant to me. And I just want to say mazel tov to my parents, grandparents, all the friends, Danny and Sarah.
Finally, we'll hear a word from Sarah's mother.
Among the expressions, good and bad, that are used to describe the Jewish people is the phrase that we are the people of the book. But not just any kind of book, but the Torah. And it is our tradition, when we are celebrating a happy occasion, to study in honor of that occasion. And that is precisely what Sarah did. One of the great pleasures that studying gave me is that from time to time, Sarah would ask me to review something with her. And one of the most beautiful things that I did review with her during the course of that study was a portion of the 103rd Psalm. Let me read verses 2 to 5. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquity, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from the pit, who encompasses thee with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfies thine old age with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagle. As with many of the things in the Torah and in Psalms, the statements are allegorical, and they teach us lessons in that way. How is it that we are renewed in old age like the eagle? The psalm talks about the return of the Jewish people to Zion, but I think that it also talks about our own lives in relation to our children. What the psalm refers to in terms of renewing us like the eagle is the eagle is known for its longevity. And while, of course, we all wish everyone long life, we all are very much aware of our mortality. We see our age. I can no longer read without these. So how is it that we do get youth through our old age, and we get them through our children, through the joy and the pleasure we have in seeing them study and seeing them mature? And my wish for Sarah, Daniel, and Michael is that they have continued growth, continued maturity, continued good fortune, and through that, It is my fervent hope that my parents, my husband, and I will have our youth renewed. There's one final thing that I'd like to comment upon, and this is at Sarah's request. Yesterday at Shul, Rabbi Kleiman mentioned that today, September 1st, marks the opening, the 46th anniversary of the opening of the Second World War. And Sarah was very upset about that, and so was I. And we discussed it. And the fact is that the Jewish tradition and Jewish law is very specific, very concrete on when we may mourn and when we may celebrate. And it also is very concrete in when we must remember. And we must remember all the time. Rabbi Soloveitchik discusses the concept of shlichut, agency, that every Jew in every generation is connected to every other Jew in that generation, every Jew who ever was, and every Jew who ever will be. So it's appropriate that we celebrate the Jewish coming of age of our youngest child, Sarah, on this day of infamy, when an oppressor tried to destroy the Jewish people. And we all are here joined in living defiance of that individual who tried to destroy us all. We are here in temporal defiance by our physical existence and in spiritual defiance because we show that we are friends with all, with Jews and non-Jews, and that we continue to live spiritually and religiously. And I wish us all many continued years of such temporal and spiritual good health.
I would invite you all to join us now downstairs for brunch and for some dances.
Welcome, friends and family. I would like to thank you all for joining me today in celebration of my bar mitzvah. Especially, I would like to thank my mother, who is also my friend, my father, who is also my chauffeur and mom and dad, my brothers, Michael and Danny, who seem to think that I am their punching bags, and my grandparents, Grandma and Puppy, who are my most hugging relatives. Last but not least, I would like to thank my friends and teachers, Shoshana Jedwab, who has spent endless hours trying to get this stuff through my head, and Rabbi Saul Berman, with whom I learned and who helped me with this speech. I would also like to thank God for granting us all this occasion to study together that most sensitive, articulate, and inspired prayer proposed in honor of our God of Abraham, in honor of the God of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, the Shemona Esrei. This Torah will be dedicated to the loving memory of my father's parents, Samuel and Dora Altman, and my classmate and friend, Anel Tuckman. Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, also known as Maimonides or Rambam, was both a great philosopher and the greatest codifier of Jewish law. In his code of Jewish law, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, also known as Maimonides or Rambam, was both a great philosopher and the greatest codifier of Jewish law. In his code of Jewish law, the Mishnah Torah, he records that we are obligated to worship God through words of prayer every day of our lives. He further says that the daily obligatory prayer, which both men and women must offer, must contain three basic components. First, Shevach, praise of God, in which we describe how great God is and how he holds the power over life and death. Second, Bakashah, petitions, in which we humbly ask of God that he provide us with our needs such as health and wisdom and justice. The third basic component is Hodayah, thanks, in which we express our gratitude to God for all that we have. The Talmud, I'm not doing too well here.
Go ahead.
In Tractate Brachot 28b, Daf Chaf Chet Amud Bet, tells us that originally every person would compose his or her own prayer and would speak to God in his or her own words. Eventually, during the Persian period, somewhere around the 5th century before the Common Era, the 120 members of the Great Assembly, the Jewish spiritual leaders of that generation, composed a sing-along prayer for everyone to recite as daily prayer. That single standard prayer was known simply as tefillah because it included all of the basic components of Jewish prayer. It was also known as Amidah, the prayer recited while standing. It was also known as, it was also called Shemona Esrei, 18, because it consisted of 18 blessings. 3 blessings of praise, 12 blessings of petition, and 3 blessings of thanks. That same passage in Gemara Bracha tells us that after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 of the Common Era, probably due to severe religious oppression of the Jews by the Romans, there was confusion as to the proper text of the Shemona Esrei. For that reason, Rabban Gamliel of Yavne requested one of the greatest spiritual figures of that generation, Shimon HaPakuli, to restore the Shemona Esrei to its proper language. Since that time, for the past 2,000 years, the Shemona Esrei has held a central position in the religious world of the Jewish people. It has been recited every day of every year in every city and every country in the world wherever Jews have lived. This prayer is the most powerful symbol of Jewish unity to which all Jews share common beliefs and common aspirations for the future. 2 of the great Torah personalities of our century, Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook and Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik, have offered different inspiring insights concerning the spiritual significance of the 3 sections of the Shemona Esrei. Rabbi Cook, in his commentary to the Siddur Olat Riyah, describes the middle section of Brachot of Request as the least significant of the 3 sections. The 3 opening Brachot of Praise of God, which precede the petition section, is more exalted in the system he sets up. And Rav Kook teaches that the last 3 blessings, the Brachot of Thanksgiving, exhibit the highest spiritual importance because thankfulness and gratitude are the most basic elements of religious personality. I understand even better the position of Rav Soloveitchik, who says that the first section of the Shemona Esrei, the blessings of praise, are, so to speak, really just an introduction or an excuse to enable us to get to what is really the main spiritual activity of this prayer, the section of petitions. Why are these individual requests so important? Because they provide us with the opportunity to affirm before God all of the needs which are so important to us. Needs such as good health and wisdom, the material well-being of our community, and universal peace. To take just one example of how important these petitions are, let us look at the 11th blessing of the Shemona Esrei. V'ser mimeni yagon v'anacha u'moch aleinu atah Hashem v'varcha b'chasar u'rachamim v'tzadkenu v'mishpat Baruch atah Hashem melech ohev tzedakah v'mishpat. Restore our judges as at first and our counselors as at the beginning, and remove us from sorrow and sighing. Reign over us, thou alone, O Lord, in kindness and in mercy, and revive us in judgment. Blessed art thou, Lord, and King, who lovest righteousness and judgment. In this blessing, we ask God to provide us with those special individuals with whom a just society could not exist, judges who are both righteous and merciful. We ask Him for judges who empathize with the sorrow and suffering of the oppressed and who strive to blend justice with mercy and kindness. This prayer for wise and fair judges reflects the concern of our faith with the quality of justice dispensed by the courts, and reflects our awareness that God Himself refuses to dwell in a society which does not strive for justice. I know that my mother and father, and I am certain that all of the judges and lawyers who are here today are dedicated to the values of this prayer. To say this prayer, together with the other petitions in the Shemona Esrei, every day provides us with an opportunity to constantly remind ourselves of what is really important to us and of what our deepest values really are. The daily recitation of the Shemona Esrei therefore achieves 3 important goals for us. It affirms our belief in God, it affirms the unity of the Jewish people, and it reminds us of the things that are really important to us, values such as justice and peace. Our brief analysis of the Shemona Esrei has, I hope, sensitized all of us to the overall structure and some of the ideas contained in the supreme Jewish prayer. Like all precious living things, to possess the Shemona Esrei, one must first seek it out and attempt to understand it. Again, I would like to thank my parents for all their continued help in my own search. The incorporation of the Shemona Esrei not only into our learning, but also and especially into our lives, will enable us to recognize that ultimate self-reliance is foolish. As Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel once said, "Great is the power of prayer, for to worship is to expand the presence of God in the world." Thank you.
Son, If you miss the bus, you can make a connection and not serve. Number 41. Just arrived to Petah Tikva, the next bus to Tel Aviv in a half hour. Thank you. You can find your seats. Please, you too.
Heard yet, because he was delayed because of one of his rabbinic functions. I would like to introduce you to Rabbi Haskell Luckstein, the principal of the school that all our children attend. I think that their own performance is an attestation of the type of study and the type of education that they're receiving. Rabbi Luckstein.
We are still sufficiently sexist that when I talk to a bar mitzvah, he stands, but if I talk to a bat mitzvah, she sits. Oh, we just became unsexist. Okay. Sarah hayikara. Zot lo hapam harishona shani medaber elayach be'ivrit. כבר שנתיים בכיתה ה' וכיתה ו' אני מדבר לכיתה שלך על פרשת השבוע ואת יושבת בשורה הראשונה. She says that's because she's small. עכשיו אני רוצה לשאול אותך כמה שאלות ממה שאנחנו למדנו במשך שנתיים אלו. את מוכנה לענות על שאלות בכל הפרשיות של השבוע? She says, not really, but she'll do it anyway. Now, אני רק מתלוצץ. את יודעת מה זה להתלוצץ? I'm just kidding. That's right. ראשית, אני רוצה לומר לך שזה בשבילי שמחה גדולה להשתתף בחג הבת מצווה שלך. לא יכולתי להשתתף בחג הבר מצווה של מייקל ודניאל, מפני שאני עסוק בשבת. אני אחד מהיהודים שעובדים בשבת. כל אחד אחר נח, אבל רב קליימן ורב ברמן ורב כהנא ואני, אנחנו עובדים בשבת, אז אנחנו לא יכולים ללכת לבתי כנסיות אחרים לבר מצווה, אבל כאן ביום ראשון, ברוך השם כן. אני התחלתי לקרוא את הדרשה שלך, ואני רוצה לומר שאם ירצה השם, כל מה שאמרת כאן יצא לפועל. בכל התפילות שלך השם יענה לטובה. Dear Sarah, I haven't finished this whole drasha, and I expect to finish it, but it looks beautiful. And I already heard from some people, including one to whom I'm very closely related, that it was magnificent. And you should be proud of yourself for being able to produce this. I'm not surprised, because I know you as an exceptionally capable young lady. You like to have fun. You like to kid around, but you're also very bright, very interested, and exceptionally quick to catch things. And this I've discovered in the course of 2 years of coming to your class to talk about Parshat HaShavua on Friday mornings. I don't want to talk to you about Parshat HaShavua today. I'd like just to say a word to you that's related to this season of the year. You know which month this is. The month of Elul, right? And it's the last month of the year when we try to set everything in order. And according to Jewish tradition, the letters of the word Elul are initials for several different phrases in the Torah, or in the Tanakh. One is Ani ledodi v'dodi li, right? She's finishing. I want you to know, half the things that I'm saying, she's finishing the sentences. I am for my beloved and my beloved is for me. That means really, I am for God and I hope God will be for me. And you come from a very fine religious home, Sarah. And you come from wonderful synagogues. And you have wonderful friends, and your parents have wonderful friends, who live a life of Ani ledodi v'dodi li. And I hope you're going to live that kind of a life too. Because God has blessed you with a neshama that's capable of a wonderful religious relationship with God. But there's one more pasuk that has the initials of Elul in it that I want to remind you of. And it comes not from Shir HaShirim as the first one does, but from Megillat Esther. And the phrase is, Ish l're'ehu umatanot la'evyonim. And it refers to the practice on Purim of giving gifts to one another, shalach manos, and also giving gifts to the poor. And what our sages were trying to tell us when they noticed that Elul is connected to that verse too, was I think something very simple. To be a good religious Jew, you have to do more than love God. You have to do more than daven. You have to do more than keep Shabbat and Kashrut and all the other laws. you also have to be good to people. Ish l're'ehu u'matanot la'evyonim. And Sarah, you have that capacity from your genes and also from your environment. Because in your home, you have seen parents and a family that has the capacity to do things for people. People in need, not just poor people, but people who need some kind of help. Frequently it's hospitality in the event that they have somebody sick in the hospital. We know it from our own family. How many Shabbosim my mother-in-law spent in your house. And you remember because you were a Machnisa Orchim too. And that's the way your parents lived. Very quiet. A lot of us know about it only because we've either benefited from it personally or someone has told us. But it's all done very quietly. And also the things that they do for the community, for the synagogues of which they are a part, for Ramaz where you and your brothers have been going. This is the life of Ish l're'ehu u'matanot la'evyonim. And Sarah, I hope you're going to live that kind of life too. That's also built into your neshama. And please God, someday in the future, you're going to have a daughter. She's going to have a bat mitzvah. And somebody will stand here and speak to that daughter and say, you know, you should be like your mother and do the wonderful things that your mother does. And Sarah, the best blessing I can give to you and to all of us here, including your entire family, is that when that time comes, all of us should be able to come to the Simcha and rejoice with you. May you have a wonderful life of Elul, of Ani l'dodi v'dodi li with God, and Ish l're'ehu u'matanot la'evyonim with people. And may all of us be strengthened and blessed by that life. Mazal Tov.
Here we go. Not to go under, you know how to do it? Like this, correct. Not to go like that. Let me show you.
Lincoln Square Synagogue, Lincoln Square, New York City, the event, the Limbo. Mrs. Leibowitz and Mrs. Hodges have kindly agreed to hold the poll. First contestant will be Gil Benderly. And the music is about to start. Here we go, the contestants.
Okay, you're going to do that at the ring. All right? Here we go. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Let me explain it. Don't go like you go under a trestle, you know. You have to go like that. Okay, let's do it.
Here we go, more friends. Mr. Lipton.
That's right.
Coming through someone else we don't know his name. Big keeper is retreating. Here comes Gil Bentley to start a new round. Successfully complete. Josh Lieber, Josh Ronnie Snakes. Who's next? Yes, he makes it over. Squeeze.
Right, right.
This one did not must be receiving. Sarah Ullman completes it on her own. All females going through by the moment. No, not exactly a limbo that doesn't touch. Here comes the tool on David Buddish's girlfriend. Faith Weasel makes it again.
Polish
We don't know who that is. Not exactly doing a
That's
limbo.
wrong.
She's gone out of the competition. Here comes Mr. Lipton one more time. He's made it.
He's right, he's right.
He's made it. Mr. Lipton has successfully completed it. Because that does not look good. He's gone out of the competition. She makes it successfully. Josh Ronnie. Josh Ronnie is gone. Sarah Ullman. It's a high round for Sarah Ullman. Sarah making a third approach. She'll either this is the make or break. Sarah completes the round. Who is this? We don't know. The timer is standing in line. Excuse me, sir. Round complete. Completes the round. Who is this? Mr. Lipke one more time. Will he make it? It's close. Mr. Lipke is good. Mr. Lipke, come over here. Speak from Mr. Lipke, how does it feel to have done such a good job? Thank you very much. Sarah Ullman going on. Sarah Ullman completes
Un poquito lero,
it.
lero, lero,
It's completed.
lero,
Mr. Lipke.
ay, lero, 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 lero,
Mr. Lipke.
sorry about that.
Mr. Lipke is good. He's out of the competition.
Poco, tico, tico,
No, they're cheating. They're crawling under. Lincoln Square City got City excitement.
ay, lero.
Sarah Ullman attempting
Right.
to win world record height. World record height. Sarah attempting the ball in. It's good. It's good. Sarah's ready for this. Sarah, how do you feel having completed this round? You're in. You don't know who that was? Another one? Yes. Oh, and here comes David Buddish's girlfriend one more time. Successfully completed the round.
Poco, tico, tico,
We
lero,
don't know Faith Weasel, ladies and gentlemen. Down low.
ay, lero,
Going for a new world record.
lero, ay, lero, lero,
Sarah Ullman.
un poquito
And
más,
it's good. Sarah
un
Ullman.
poquito más, un poquito
Yes, it's good. One more
ay,
time.
lero,
It's good. It's good.
lero, lero, ay, lero,
Yes, it's good. Incredible new records being set by the moment, folks. Here she goes one more time. She's gone. Mr. Hornish in the locker room took his hold on. Faith Weasler, successful. The Amazon. Sarah Ullman has now yet unattempted in the history of new low. Sarah Ullman going. She's down. It doesn't look good.
How we doing? How we doing?
One more. She's gone out of the competition. It's been narrowed down to she's going at it. Good. That's right. That's right. That's right. Want to interview Faith? It looks like Faith is having trouble on this thing, isn't it? Faith, it's good. It's good. Faith, it's successful. Sarah Ullman, new lows, new lows. this young lady blocking the camera.
How many referees here?
Okay.
No.
Synagogue Lincoln Square, Sarah Army completes another round. There's David Hardy smiling, waving to the camera. Hi, Mom. Doesn't look like she's gonna make it, but there it one more head is completed. Yael. Faith Fleisler has completed another incredible round. Who's even lower? Sarah Owen. This was not even there. No. Sarah Owen, she's there. Sarah, no. Sarah is making a third approach. Does not look good. Sarah going under. But there, she has successfully completed the round. One more, someone else going in the side on approach. She has also completed. Here comes Faith Fleisler, the tallest one left in the competition. Shimmying down sideways, and it's good. That's right, back in there. Sarah Oldman once again going for a new third. Sarah Oldman looking good, but going for another approach. Sarah Oldman makes a deep breath. She goes, the head is down. Sarah attempting the chin, looks like it will not be. But there, the head is going down. Sarah Oldman once again has completed the round. Another guest of Sarah's will be through. No, it does not
Seems to be in the studio.
Sarah trying to shimmy in sideways, goes down with the head, fails on the first approach. Looks like a meeting of the rules committee. It's a tie.
We have a winner.
It's a tie. Let's interview the winners. Come with me. Faith, please.
Faith.
Please speak to the camera.
And let's give a nice hand to the referees, Mrs. Leibowitz and
Mrs. Hordish.
Mrs. Harris. I remember you.
Very good. Sarah Altman.
So give a nice hand. Let's see that. Give a nice hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Sarah Altman, Faith, please.
You want to do another game?
Sarah, Faith.
Okay, we're going to do Pepsi Cola and 7-Up. Here
How do
we
you
go.
feel having won the competition?
Okay, I want
Competition,
two
it's over.
lines.
They refuse to answer questions. What is happening in professional athletics today? Nothing in front of softball. And here in Lincoln Square, New York City, Mrs. Altman, how do you feel about the bar mitzvah of your daughter, Sarah?
I'm very touched. It's been a very beautiful party, and I want to thank Joe Kasner for memorializing.
That is beautiful. Thank you very much. And now it's on to her husband, Mr. Herbert Altman. Here we are with Evelyn and Nancy from high school with my mother, Miriam Altman. Here we are, Lincoln Square Synagogue, Lincoln Square, New York City. How do you feel about this momentous occasion? Occasion, whatever. Please speak louder so we can catch you. That is beautiful.
No pushing. Don't get hurt.
Incredible, folks. Just simply incredible. Mr. Gilman sitting over here. A few words for our audience. Mr. Gilman. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Very good. Here we are. Yossi, the man who told me my bar mitzvah. Lincoln Square Synagogue. Lincoln Square, New York City. Welcome. Speak to the camera. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You did a great job on your bar mitzvah.
Cut.
And your sister will have to
Everyone in the audience.
Johnson David, you are referee.
Lincoln Square Synagogue.
Little bit of
New York City. Mr. Herbert Altman, how do you feel about the Herb's not so beautifully booked there. Herb will come up with an incredible joke, please. Herbert Altman. Tell a joke to the camera. He's dumbfounded. Mr. Herbert Altman, thank you very much.
Listen what I'm saying. You see how close you got? You almost there. I like to drink. I like to drink. I like to drink. Go. I didn't say that. Coca-Cola. What?
You got for here, I don't know who you are.
David, the judge. You're the referee.
Maroon Yamaga, who get out of here, see right there. Yeah. Hope you guys, you too.
Well,
Maybe leave that one in the black tie over there.
Coconut. 7-Eleven. You see how close you're coming? You almost leave the kitchen. Move back. I like to drink whiskey. 7-Up. What?
Oh my God.
We have two referees. I like to drink. Tomato juice. Good one, huh? I scared you. I like to drink. What's going on here? What? Mr. Referee! Hold it. Mr. Referee, you have to take care of it. Sarah, move back. Daniel, move back, Daniel. I like to drink. Oh my God, I like to drink. Coca-Cola! What? Hold it, it's a collision. I'm sorry, collision. It's a collision. We give them another chance. It was a collision. Why you shrink? Why so? Surah, move back. Surah, move back.